And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. I want to say Shalom Lak, Mash Paka. I hope and pray you guys had a blessed Shabbat. I know this is a very late lesson here that I'm doing here. I was up late and, I was just really bothered by, just reading and staying on top of the news and looking at how many of these countries are. When I say countries, I'm referring to China, I'm referring to Russia, I'm referring to the United States, the UK, France, and all these different countries that are operating in crooked loans, schemes to, in a nutshell, push their agenda and to hold hostage so many countries in Africa and other countries like in Brazil and, like Brazil and some of these other countries that's in South America, around the world. And the reason why I'm doing this live, and I don't expect to have a lot of participation tonight because of the time that it is. But the reason why I'm doing this is because of the teaching that's going around. Many people are teaching that the United States is Babylon. and pushing the narrative that, okay, flee Babylon. Flee Babylon. And I'm going to show you here tonight that the United States is connected to Babylon, but the United States is not Babylon. I'm going to show you here that Russia is connected to Babylon, but Russia is not Babylon. I'm going to show you that China is connected to Babylon, but China is not Babylon. Japan is connected to Babylon, but Japan is not Babylon. The UK, the Brits or British, they are connected to Babylon, but they are not Babylon. Germany connected to Babylon, but they are not Babylon. And I think you guys know where I'm going at with this. See, so many of our brothers and sisters, and especially I understand my brothers and sisters, I understand how hurt we are, how angry we are because of the suppression that we've been subjected to in this country. And I know so many of us are just anxious and, losing patience. Your patience is running thin, and you just really want for the Most High to return and deliver and remove us from the state of depression as a community, as a whole, the confusion that we've been subjected to. But family, we have to use wisdom, family. And there's so many people that are, whether it's directly or indirectly, are really perpetuating this fear. And with our brothers and sisters actually believing that they have to flee. Family, no matter where you go at, judgment is going to come. Judgment is going to come. Now, if you could go to a different place, hey, I'm all for it. Go to a different place for things to be a better way of life. That's one thing. But to flee thinking that you are going to be removed from the judgment of the Most High in terms of that land, that territory, everywhere Israel is scattered to, the Most High's judgment is going to be there. So I'm going to get right into the lesson. I didn't want to take a lot of time. I just want to get right straight into it. I have a lot to cover tonight, but I'm going to make it clear for those that are dealing with Revelations chapter 18 and really believe that Revelations chapter 18 is pointing to the United States. I'm going to show you that you're wrong. Now, the United States is one of those beasts. I can tell you that emphatically. But there's a special judgment that's coming for this great city. And I'm going to explain to you what the great city is. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it, family. Let's go ahead and get into it. I don't want to prolong the time of getting into the lesson with the intro, but let's go ahead and get into it. All right. The battle for Africa, the great city, the great city. The question I'm going to answer tonight or early this morning is, who is this great city? Right? Who is the great city? Bear with me 1 second, family. All right. Sorry about that. I had to make sure that my tablet doesn't go dead on me. But nevertheless, who is this great city? We're going to answer this question. I'm going to give you some simple passages, but it's going to make sense when we get to what we're going to get to. Who is the great city? Is this great city, right? Is the great city referring to a nation? What are some of the attributes of this great city? But I want to start with dealing with the bride. You understand the bride is going to help you understand this great city. So let's start with who is the bride. Some of you guys caught some of this teaching in some of my previous teachings, but for those that are watching for the first time, I'm just going to go through it so that way you get a proper clarity of the text. All right. So let's go and deal with it right here. Revelation chapter 17, verse 5. Let's break down this bride, the characteristics, the attributes of this bride, and ultimately of this city, this great city. Revelation chapter 17, verse 5 says, upon her forehead was a name written. Now, I want to make sure you guys understand this is not saying that this is a literal person with on their forehead these words, these different attributes. What this is saying that the reputation, I'm going to show you here, this is the reputation of the bride. So, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. So before I continue, let me just break down this word name from a Hebraic perspective. Name, as you see on your screen, it says here mark or a memorial of individuality. In other words, it can be a literal name, but it also means honor, authority, character, fame, infamous, renown, report. And at the bottom of the screen here, and I'll just zoom it in so you can see it, you also see reputation, glory. Okay, so Sham, I'm saying it from the ancient Hebraic pronunciation, Sham, not shame, right? Sham, it could be a literal name. That's why you see mark or memorial of individuality. But also, we're dealing with honor, character, right? Honor, authority, character, fame, infame, famous, renown, report, reputation, glory. So keep that in mind. So we're dealing with the characteristics, the attributes, the reputation, the character of the bride. So what is the reputation of the bride? We have it right in front of us. It says, upon her forehead was a name written, mystery. And when you understand the Greek, and when we look at this from a Greek perspective, mysterion, it says this, a secret or mystery. Through the idea of silence imposed by initiation into religious rites. Now, think about that for a moment and make a note of this. Also, we see that part of her reputation is Babylon the Great. So we have mystery, but now we need to deal with Babylon the Great. Here's the Hebrew definition of the word Babylon. So we see confusion. So this is another attribute of this bride. We see mystery, initiations, secret societies, basically rituals. But then also we see confusion by way of what? Mixing. That's the key. Not just gateway or portal when we're dealing with Babylon, but the key to understanding the name Babylon, understand it means confusion by way of what? Mixing, as you see here on your screen. So Babylon, Babal, also means confusion by mixing. So we see mystery, Babylon the Great. Next, we see the mother of harlots. So when we think about mother, mother simply means the source of something. So this is the source. The source. She is the source. When you think about the bride, she is the source. So when we look at this word harlot, right? This is porne. This is where you get the word pornos, right? Comes from this word here. So you see harlot, whore. And it says here, a woman who sells her body for sexual uses. But it also says, in a metaphorical perspective, an idolatress. In the sub entry of number 2, it says, an example given, Babylon, an example, Rome, the chief seat of idolatry. Make a note of that. Rome, the chief seat of idolatry. Okay, so this bride will be the source of perversion. Next, we see abomination. So we see mystery. Babylon, excuse me. Let me let me get something to drink real quick. No, just got caught up in my throat. Let me get something to drink real quick. Bear with me, family. Let me just put on a video here. Some got caught in my throat. Bear with me 1 second. Herodotus, 450 BCE, who is considered the father of history, states that it is in fact manifest that the Colchidians are Egyptians by race. Several Egyptians told me that in their opinion, the Colchidians were descendants from the soldiers of Sesostris. I had conjectured as much myself from 2 pointers. Firstly, because they have black skin and kinky hair. Aristotle, 320 BCE, the great philosopher and father of scientific thinking, speaks rather derogatorily about the Egyptians, but nonetheless shows that he too regarded them as black skin. Those who are too black are cowards, like, for instance, the Egyptians and Ethiopians. But those who are excessively white are also cowards, as we can see from the example of women. The complexion of courage is between the two, in other words, brown or tanned. Aeschylus, 480 BCE, in his play The Suppliants, comment on an Egyptian ship. I can see the Egyptian crew with their black limbs and white tunics. Apollodorus, 70 BCE, affirms that Egyptos conquered the country of the black-footed ones and called it Egypt after himself. Greek writers, Lucian, 180 BCE, presents a dialogue between 2 Greeks, Lencinus and Timolas, discussing a young Egyptian boy. Lencinus, this boy is not merely black. He has thick lips and his legs are too thin. His hair worn in a plait behind shows that he is not a free man. My apologies, family. Some got caught in my throat. In my office, and the air a little dry. I had to turn on my filter for my room here, my whatever you call it. But yeah, my voice got dry. It was like some got caught up in it, and so I had to get something to drink to get my voice back. So my apologies, family. But again, let's continue on here. We're not going to let that stop us, or like the term says, railroad us from staying the course. All right. So we see with this bride, we see mystery. We see Babylon the Great. We see the mother of harlots. And we also see now abominations. So let's see what abominations mean. So abominations, from a Hebrew school of thought, it means something disgusting. All right. Abomination, something disgusting, like homosexuality. That is something that is disgusting in the eyes of the Most High. Right. Especially idolatry and idol. And then it says here, in a ritual sense, unclean foods. We know unclean foods is an abomination to the Most High. Idols, mixed marriages, right? The Most High did not want Israel to mix and mesh, especially when we start dealing with the crafty council. Okay, so keep those things in mind. So this bride will be the source of disgusting, unethical things. Let me say that again. This bride will be the source of disgusting, unethical things. All right. So is the bride connected to the great city? So we just gave the characteristics, the attributes of this bride, but is this bride connected to the great city? Let's go to Zechariah chapter 11, verse 5. And this is a key passage that I just want you guys to grab hold of. Some of you guys know this. But notice what it says here for those that are not familiar with this passage. It says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they say, and they that sell them say, Blessed be Yahweh, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. So this is a key prophecy. This is a nugget, a major nugget. So it says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they will that sell them say, Blessed be Yahweh, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. So this is when we see here, blessed be Yahweh, for I am rich, this is a phrase of mockery. This is not them truly worshiping Yahweh. So who are the people they possessed? Make a note of that. Who are the people they kidnapped, raped, murdered, and hold themselves not guilty? Who are they? Revelation chapter 17, verse 14 and 15 gives us an indicator here, right? Still tying into this bride, right? Still tying into the bride. But now we're going to start getting some passages that's going to help us understand who is this great city. Who is this bride? Verse 14 of chapter 17. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. Let me say that again. And these shall make war with the Lamb. So make a note of that. Verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth. Now, family, this is a major nugget. I want to say this again. Part of the problem with many, even those that are in this awakening, right? They are the reason why we have so much confusion when it comes to this prophecy or understanding prophecy is because even though many of our brothers and sisters have come from out of the church, come from out of Catholicism, they are still holding on to the things of that institution, that organization, even their understanding of the text, even their understanding of prophecy. So I want you to understand, when we think about the history, a key piece of history that most of our brothers and sisters, I want to say easily 90% of them, when they deal with the book of Revelation, they are not dealing with the transatlantic world war. They're not dealing with the Arabic slave trade. They're not dealing with those things. They keep referring to, like, for example, all the history of the Europeans, like the World War I, World War II, but they will not really make the association with us if we're dealing with Israel. The entire scripture, the entire Bible is about the rise of, right? The rise, the fall, and the restoration of Israel, right? If we understand just that basic principle, then when we look at these prophecies, we have to start with Israel, not with other nations. We've been hoodwinked. We've been hoodwinked to interpreting the prophecies through the lens of the very people that have enslaved us, the crafty council. So verse 15 in chapter 17, it says, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes, nations and tongues. So family, you see it right here. The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, and nations and tongues. So this prophecy is dealing with, and I'm going to say it with confidence, this prophecy right here, this is the transatlantic world war. We could tie it in and lump it together with the Arabic slave trade, because the Arabic slave trade is the foundation that helped push forward the transatlantic world war. So when we look here and say, see that the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, and nations, and tongues. What was the primary vessels that they used for our people? All right. So pay attention to this, family. Pay attention to it. So the waters which thou sawest where the horse sitteth are the people. It says are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. Then when we go to Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 9 through 10, we have some additional indicators here, some signs. It gives some additional signs here. It says, for then will I turn to the people a pure barawar language, shapah, that they may all call upon the name of Yahweh to serve him with one consent, akkad, consent, shakam. So this is not saying the Most High is going to give us a new language. That's not the correct understanding of the prophecies. The Most High is not giving us a new language. We already have a language that he's given us. But this is saying that he's going to cleanse the language of his people. He could give us a new language right now. We're still perverted because we need to change our hearts. All right. But nevertheless, verse 10, from beyond Ibar, the rivers of Ethiopia, Kawash, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring mine offering. So that's a key nugget right there. That is another key nugget. All right. So let's deal with the middle passage, right? As we build up and establish and identify the great city that Revelation 18 talks about. This is PBS, the middle passage. For weeks, months, sometimes as long as a year, they waited in dungeons of the slave factories scattered along Africa's western coast. They had already made the long, difficult journey from Africa's interior, but just barely, out of the roughly 20 million who were taken from their homes and sold into slavery, half didn't complete the journey to the African coast. He goes on to say, most of those dying along the way. Here's the kicker, family. And the worst was yet to come. So again, I want y'all to make a note. Sometimes as long as a year, they waited in the dungeons. So before we continue, let me drop this link. Let me give some sources here. Let me drop this link inside the chat so you guys can have this for your reference. Bear with me 1 second. Bear with me 1 second, family. I'm trying to get it here. Let me see here. All right. I think I have it. And I encourage you guys, go back and read these sources. All right. There's a source there. This is what I'm reading from. All right. This is what I'm reading from. All right. All right. So sometimes as long as a year. Let me say that again. Sometimes as long as a year, they waited in the dungeons. Okay. They waited in the dungeons, our ancestors. This is where you get the word coon, right? Those dungeons have a name. And the word coon comes from the original name, the Portuguese name, right? This is the etymological dictionary of the word coon. We see popular abbreviation for raccoon. And it says it was the nickname of the Whig Party members in The United States, when we look at the 1848 through the 1860, that is the original Republican Party, but that's not where it comes from. It says it's now the insulting U.S. Meaning of the word coon is black person. It says was in use by 1837, said to be from barracão, from the Portuguese barraca. In other words, a slave depot, pen or rough enclosure for black slaves in transit in West Africa, Brazil, and Cuba. So I don't use this word coon. Never called any of my brothers and sisters this word. Because, again, we're insulting our ancestors, our mothers, our fathers, our mothers, the previous generations that had to go through this. So I don't use the word coon, and neither should you. But let's get back to this article about the Middle Passage. It says the captives were about to embark on the infamous Middle Passage, so called because it was the middle leg of a 3-year part voyage, a voyage that began and ended in Europe. The first leg of the voyage carried a cargo that often included iron, clothes, or cloth, brandy, firearms, and gunpowder. Upon landing on Africa's slave coast, the cargo was exchanged for Africans, fully loaded with its human cargo. The ship set sail for the Americas, where the slaves were exchanged for sugar, tobacco, some other product. The final leg brought the ship back to Europe. Now, family, pay attention to the other thing that I want to reveal with this article. Pay attention to this. All right. Notice what it says here. Pay attention to this. It says the slaves were branded with hot irons and restrained with shackles. Let me say that again. The slaves were branded with hot irons and restrained with shackles. So they had a mark placed on them, and it's called the fleur de lis. It's also referred to as the lotus flower, right? You see this traces all the way back to Egypt and also the Babylonians. So our ancestors were branded with this mark. And the Catholic Church used this to represent the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So again, what or who is this great city? Let me say that again. What or who is this great city? Who are they? Who are they? That's right. That fleur de lis is from the New Orleans Saints. But let's go to Revelation chapter 18, verse 1 and 2. Let's see what it says. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. So in order to really understand the passage I just read, the prophecies in Revelation 18, understand the prophet is quoting from Jeremiah 51, verse 6 through 8. And I'm going to read it. So when you study in the book of Revelation, understand you have to understand Torah, also the prophets, to really understand what the prophecies are saying. Because in the book of Revelation, the prophet John, right, he's making a number of references to different passages from Torah as well as the prophets. All right. And in this case, he's quoting out of Jeremiah chapter 50. He's quoting out of Jeremiah chapter 51. All right. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Right. Verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, that had made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. Verse 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be, she be healed. Right? So, again, it tells us that this great city, when we deal with Babylon, made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. And we're dealing with the bride, right? So who, or should I say what or who is the wine? Let's go to Revelation chapter 17, verse 6. Let's get an idea who is the wine. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. Actually, it simply is the holy people of Yah, which is Israel, right? In the ancient Hebrew, you'll see Quadayash, which come from the primitive root Quadash, right? Which you see the word holy. And with the blood of the martyrs of Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, Jesus the Christ. So we're dealing with the ancient Israelites. We're dealing with Israel. The woman drunken with the blood of Israel, the holy people of the Most High, and with the blood of the martyrs, because, in other words, those that follow and believe in the Messiah, those are the martyrs. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. So the martyrs, the disciples, all those that was persecuted for the Messiah. All right. So let me prove to you that this is dealing with Israel. When we go to the etymological dictionary of the word saint, just so that way you understand that word saint was not created to point to Israel. The word saint, sorry about that, family. That's my other PC in here that's beeping like that. So, but this referred to the Pope. And not just the Pope, but other people that the Catholic Church deemed to be holy. Right? So we see a saint, a holy relic, holy consecrated, adopted into most Germanic, right? But it goes on to say originally, this is the key, originally an adjective prefix to the name of a canonized person. By the 1300, it became to be regarded as a noun, meaning person of extraordinary holiness. So originally, when this word was put together, it referred to a canonized person. And only one institution, right? Only one institution used this word when we deal with a canonized person. It's one institution. You guys know what it is, and I'm going to show you here. Right? So the etymology dictionary says the word saint is the name of a canonized person. So let's deal with the word saints and deal with the, this document I'm going to highlight. It's the steps into sainthood. All right. So it says here, for all the beatified, both martyrs and confessors, to be canonized, one miracle is required. It must be proven that this event took place through the intercessions of the blessed and after the date of his or her beatification. So this is dealing with becoming a saint according to the Roman Catholic Church. All right. So we see that this word was something that was created by the Catholic Church. This word saint had nothing to do with Israel. That had nothing to do with the holy people of Yah. But man, they so good with their deception. They have us singing when the saints come marching in. But that word originally was created to point to a person who was canonized. So the process of canonization is very complex and thorough. A record number of saints have been canonized in the past 30 years, and about 20,000 candidates are being evaluated today. So the Hebrew definition of the transliterated word saints, if we really understand what the word really means, and this is what I'm going to share with you, this is what it simply means: holy. Holy. That's what it means, holy. That's what it means, holy. See, this word saint is a deceptive word, very deceptive, but holy. So when we go to the primitive root definition of the transliterated word saint, this is what it's going to say: clean, consecrated, dedicate, keep, in other words, execute, proclaim, purify, sanctify. All right. So the transliterated word saint is actually referring to the Israelites. In every verse you see with the word saint, where you see the word saint, it did not originally refer to Israel, but to the Roman Catholics. Okay. So we see that this woman is drunk. This woman is drunk, and drunk off the blood of Yah's holy people. So when we look at here, shakar, it means to become tipsy, to satiate with a stimulating drink, influence, be filled with, in other words, drink, drunk, in other words, be drunk, make drunk, drunken, be merry. So drunk shakar in Hebrew means to become tipsy, to be filled with, filled by the influence. Okay. So the bride of the serpent became drunk and filled with influence in taking the life of the Israelites. So when we look at that word bloodthirsty, right? That's why I want to highlight real quick. When it said that she was drunk off the blood, that means that she was bloodthirsty. And what it means from a Hebrew perspective, it says blood as that which when shed causes death of man, right? It goes on to say, right, figuratively, right, bloodshed. An example, drops of blood. Then we see blood, bloody, blood guiltiness, blood thirsty, right? Blood, then we see innocent blood. But the key we see here, I want to hone in on bloodthirsty. So the bride of the serpent became drunk, in other words, bloodthirsty, and filled with the influence of innocent bloodshed. And we could confirm this with the blood of Israel, 2 Kings chapter 11, verse 1 and 2. Right? This is the queen of Israel who reigned as a queen for over 5 years. And when Athaliah, the mother of Uzziah, saw that her son was dead, she rose and destroyed all the seed royal. But Jehosheba, excuse me from butchering the name, Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Uzziah, took Joash, the son of Uzziah, and stole him from among the king's sons, which were slain. And they hid him, and even him and his nurse in the bedchamber from Athaliah, so that he was not slain. All right. So in a nutshell, when the king and the mother, Athaliah, received the report that her son Uzziah had been killed by Jehu, she immediately made her move to claim the kingdom of Israel for herself. Without hesitation, she killed all the heirs to the throne, the entire royal family, and assumed power. So Queen Athaliah murdered her own grandchildren. So again, filled with a spirit of worldly ambition, Athaliah hungered for the power to rule. So in a murderous rampage, she eliminated all competitors, the royal seed, which is what? The Israelites. So Athaliah was drunk. She was drunken by the blood of not the saints, the Israelites. That's why I crossed it out. So Athaliah is drunk from the blood of the seed royal. So this is a system. So when we get back to dealing with Babylon, right? When we deal with the great city, this is a system. This is a city of harlotry. spiritual whoredom, and compromise that Yahweh hates. And then when we go to Revelation chapter 18, we still there, verse 7 to 8. Let's see what the Most High say about the city. It says this: how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen, and I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right? Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, mourning, and famine, and she shall utterly burn with fire. For strong is Yahweh who judges her. So those who love the truth will be teaching the judgment of the harlot, right? This harlot, the church. Because when we really understand the bride, we're dealing with Catholicism. We're dealing with Christianity, because Christianity is Catholicism. It is hand in hand with Catholicism. So those who love this truth will be teaching the judgment of the harlot church. So the date is set for the destruction of the city of Rome. The scripture says she will be totally destroyed and there will be nothing left. It also tells of the destruction of the false religious system in its entirety. All right, so family, make a note of this, because many will say and keep defaulting to the United States that this is referring to the United States. Remember, it's dealing with a city, family. It's referring to a city. So we're not dealing with a nation. We're dealing with a city, a great city. This is a great, unusual city, right? Not the United States, not Russia, not China, but all are connected to this great city. Revelation chapter 18, verse 21 through 24. Let's see what it says. And a mighty angel took a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. So the purpose for this judgment is repentance, right? The ungodly and evil survivors of the earth will not repent and turn to Yah. A remnant of Israel and the population of the world will survive, not because we deserve to survive, but because Yah is merciful. He will give the ungodly of the earth another chance to repent, speaking to them through the judgments, but they will not repent. During these times, there will be several extremely gross sins for which the ungodly need to repent, right? Skipping down to verse 17 and 18. For in 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as much as trade by sea, stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great? So this means that the mourning for Babylon, which is a symbolic, right, which is symbolic of the mourning that will take place worldwide. So there's this system, right? There's this system, right? The key, cried when they saw the smoke of her burning. So when we look in the Greek, when we see call in the Greek, right, in this particular text, kradzo, it says properly to croak. In other words, to scream, call aloud. But notice this is the key: cry or pray for vengeance. That's key. They're not just mourning, they're crying and praying for what? Vengeance. So what is the business and commercial people of the world mourning? What are they mourning? Why are they mourning? All right, continuing here, right again. For in 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the companies in the ships, sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood far off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing. So they cast ashes on their heads. So sackcloth and ashes, they cast dust on their heads. What religion promotes putting ashes on your forehead? What religion promotes putting ashes on your forehead? Let me say that again. What religion promotes placing ashes on your forehead? Something to think about, right, family? There's only one religion that promotes putting ashes on your forehead, right? Let me go back here. It says they cast dust on their foreheads, in other words, on their heads, right? This is them putting ashes on their faces. This is dealing with the Roman Catholic Church, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, the great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. Now, guess what, family? Do you know that the entire world pretty much was made rich off of the Roman Catholics? See, that's the history we don't talk about. Spain is still getting rich. The France rather, is still making all kinds of monies off of over 13 countries in Africa. They get billions and billions of dollars every year. I just read an article about China with their deceptive loans that they put out there, right? Have it so that way you got cities like, for example, Kenya, in the process of going default. So they're trying to prevent themselves from defaulting on their loans. And in that process, they're paying China back, but they are hurting their own people by doing so. That's how they suppress areas. And China's not the only one. Russia's doing these deceptive practices. I know many of our brothers and sisters trying to promote Russia and all this stuff and saying, hey, you know what? They didn't have us as slaves. Do you know Russia don't care about none of us? Russia didn't have us enslaved. They weren't part of the transatlantic world war. Have you studied Russia and how our people are treated over in Russia? They're part of the recolonization of Africa. Come on, family. We have to stop this foolishness. They all are together in this. And the Roman Catholic Church, guess what? Is connected to all of them, including Russia, who you think made Russia change what is called the Russian icons. It was the Roman Catholic Church. It was the Roman Catholic Church that had them whitewash those Roman icons, those Russian icons, rather. So, and they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, the great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. So guess what? All these nations had ships that they got rich off of. And there's one group of people that owned most of those ships, and that was the Jewish community. It says, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for Yahweh will avenge you on her. Now, when we think about this, how many prophets, how many apostles did the Roman Catholic Church slaughter? They slaughtered so many of our brothers and sisters when you go back to the 2nd and 3rd century, the 4th century. They created Christianity. They created Roman Catholicism. They created the term New Testament because they did not want to associate anything with the true Israelites. They didn't want to associate with the law, statutes, and commandments. They did not want to associate with what they called the Old Testament. That's why they came up with these phrases to make a separation. But the only reason why they kept somewhat connected to it is so that way it gives the illusion that it's that Christianity or Catholicism is an old belief system, which is not. It's only a couple of hundred years older than Islam. So rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for Yahweh hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall the great city of Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more forever. Right? So what's happening here, right? The Most High is going to take vengeance. But do you think all the world is going to mourn? I mean, let's just take the talking points of many will say, hey, you know what? Russia, all these countries are backing away from U.S. U.S. is going to fall. U.S. dollars are going to fall. All these countries are separating themselves from it. So if that's the case, that doesn't sound like the entire world mourning. That sounds like, based off of, if we take the arguments, the narrative that so many is teaching, that means that they are excited for the falling of the United States versus mourning the United States. That's not lining up with the scripture. So you can't say that all the world is hoping for the failure of the United States, but then in the scripture says that they all are going to mourn. Russia's not going to mourn. China's not going to mourn. And many countries, other countries around the world, British, UK, they're not going to mourn. But I can guarantee you, if you understand Vatican what? City. Let me say that again. Vatican City. You will see the entire world mourn when that entire system is shut down. When the Catholic Church, which Christianity connects to, that has billions of people, when that entire system, when that entire city, great city, according to the scriptures, fall, all the world is going to mourn, including so many African countries, even though so many African countries are pulling away from Christianity, Catholicism, pulling away from Islam. But guess what? Around the world, that's where the mourning is going to come. You cannot say that all these countries is hoping for the downfall of the United States. They want the dollar to crash, but then at the same time, you use this chapter 18 to say it's the United States. And I'm telling you, family, that is an absolute poor understanding of the text. It has nothing to do with just the United States. It's all that is connected to Vatican City. It's Vatican City. That's why it's called what? Vatican City, not Vatican, the nation of Vatican. Vatican City. They have their own army. They have they are an independent place. So that's why I want you guys, that's what I want you guys to understand. It goes on to say here, and the voice of the harpers, musicians, pipers, trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. No craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Come on, family. Come on, family. It's the Roman Catholic Church, family, and all the denominations that extended from it, that has the entire world deceived by way of what? Sorceries, witchcraft, to have them believe that we're not the people of the book. They have the entire world to believe that we are less than, that we are beasts, that we are primitive. Come on, family. It's not just the United States. It's not just the United States, family. If you're going to do prophecy, Do prophecy the proper way. Let me hear about the transatlantic world war. Come on, family. Let's be real. How often have you heard about the transatlantic world war being identified with Revelation? Only time you hear about the transatlantic world war is when people are teaching about Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28:68. Well, actually, starting at verse 15 is when they start dealing with the transatlantic world war. They want to deal with what they call the curses, when actually it's the consequences in that text. The curses is actually in chapter 27. You hear about Deuteronomy 28, but you don't hear them really making the connection to Revelation to the transatlantic world war. When you understand what happened with the transatlantic world war and you see how powerful the Roman Catholic Church is, how they empowered themselves. And you guys remember when I did the lesson on the battle for Africa, dealing with Revelation chapter 6, right? Let me just highlight one additional thing. I'm not going to go back over and teach that entire lesson. I encourage you guys, go back over and look at the lessons that I put together, because I put a lot into those prophetic lessons of prophecy. And I can guarantee you, and I'm not saying this from being pompous or conceited or anything like that, but I can guarantee you, you will not hear it be taught the way that I taught it, right? And getting into the depth and the details of it. All right. So let me see here. I want to get to, I thought I had it here. Bear with me one second. I'm just getting one presentation I want to copy over to this one, so that way you guys can see. Let me see. Let me go to, that's not that one. I want to pull up one more. Let's see here. All right, I got it right here. I want to pull this up here. Where is this the one? Let's see here. Oh yeah, this is the one I want to pull up. Let me copy this over, because I'm almost finished with this here. Let me copy this over, so that way you guys understand the power of this, of Vatican City. All right, of Catholicism. All right. So let me wrap up these verses here real quick, and then I'll show you here, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll drop the link if you guys want to jump on and have a quick late night discussion here. So it says here, right? Again, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Verse 24, and in her was found the blood of prophets and the holy people of Yah, and of all that were slain upon the earth. Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. You can't get away from this. So going back to this article that I highlighted a number of times, about Pope Boniface VIII and the power of the Pope. Notice what it says here. The most famous papal document of the Middle Ages, affirming the authority of the Pope as the heir of Peter and vicar of Christ, in other words, substitute of Christ, over all human authorities. When it says heir of Peter, because they teach that Peter is the first Pope. All right. So it goes on to say, in vicar of Christ, in other words, substitute of Christ, really replacement of Christ, over all human authorities, spiritual and temporal. Spiritual power, according to the bull, rests in the hands of the church. Temporal power is in the hands of kings and soldiers, but is to be exercised only as the church permits, because things spiritual are superior to things temporal. If temporal power errs, it is to be judged by the spiritual power. If lesser spiritual power errs, it is to be judged by higher spiritual power. all the way up to the supreme spiritual power, the papacy itself, which can be judged only by God. So they make it clear no one can hold them accountable but God, but the Most High himself. We declare state, it says declare, state, and define that it is absolutely necessary for salvation that every human creature be subject to the Roman pontiff. The Pope went on in 1303 to confirm the dispute choice of Albert Habsburg as Holy Roman Emperor and announced that the emperor was overlord over all other rulers, including the King of France, under the ultimate supremacy of the Pope. You can't get any plainer than that, family. So the city that we see in Revelations chapter 18 is actually Vatican City. That is referring to the Pope. That is referring to the Catholic Church and the Christian Church. We're going to stop right there, family. Can't make it any plainer than that. All right? Can't make it any plainer than that. I'm going to leave it right there. I got more that I'm going to cover on this over the next few weeks, because for me, family, I don't want to see brothers and sisters being deceived, whether it's intentional or for most, I believe it's unintentional, but I don't want our brothers and sisters to be deceived in thinking that the United States or an individual country is Babylon. No, I'm not defending the United States. I'm not defending any country, but that great city is Vatican City. And we all need to flee from Catholicism. We need to flee from Christianity, because all those systems, Christianity, Catholicism, they are all doing the same thing, pushing this doctrine of being lawless. So we need to completely leave these belief systems, including Judaism, including Islam, including all these religious systems that are purposely put in place to pull you away from the things of the Most High. So again, family, that great city is Vatican City. You can't make it any plainer than that. And family, again, I understand we are going through a lot. Let me say that again. I understand that we are going through a lot as a people. And I know that so many of us are anxious. So many of us are anxious for the Most High to bring salvation to us, to restore us. But family, we have to use wisdom. We have to use wisdom. We have to have our discernment, gifts of discernment sharp like never before. And again, I'm not saying everyone that's teaching that the United States or is that fallen city or whatever, that great city. I'm not saying that everyone is doing that out of deception purposely. But again, the impact is still the same. So again, Revelation chapter 18, it makes it clear, great city. We could easily say great nation, but great city. And what city has so much power as if it was a standalone nation? Who are they? Who are they? What city? What city that has their hands into everything? What city? What city? And again, I know the haters are going to continue to hate, right? They're waiting. They may even make posts. They may even post in the comment section just saying this.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It
So many of them want to take that approach. They're going to take that stance and say that it really doesn't matter, family. So that's why I did this last minute late night live, is to show you that, to give you clarity on that passage. I made a post showing how that we cannot sit here and say that China is not China, but the United States is Babylon, because someone posted comments that I've been hearing a lot whenever you deal with Babylon, and they want to post and say, hey, it is the United States that is Babylon. No, it's a city. It is Vatican City is Babylon. That is the Babylon that we need to remove ourselves from. All right. So I don't see anyone jumping in. I don't see anyone jumping on. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this up. So I encourage you guys, family, that you just go back over this lesson. Go back over the lesson. Really listen to this lesson. Right? Listen to this lesson. So the United States, again, I'll say this again, the United States is not Babylon, but they're connected to Babylon. Russia is not Babylon, but they're connected to Babylon, right? China is not Babylon, but they're connected to Babylon. The UK is not Babylon, but they're connected to Babylon, right? Germany is not Babylon, but they're connected to Babylon. India, all these countries are, guess what? They're not Babylon, but they're connected to Babylon. Babylon is the Roman Catholic Church. Babylon, Vatican City, is that city that's going to fall. That's the city that will have the entire world mourning. There's no one that's going to mourn with the falling of the United States. No one's going to mourn about the falling of Russia or China, but I can guarantee you, because of the influence of the Roman Catholic Church, you're going to have Christianity crying over Vatican City, the fall of Vatican City. You're going to see just how far those tentacles of Vatican City stretch. Man, those tentacles go deep. It stretches far. So again, if anyone referred to Revelation 18 as being the great city that everyone is mourning about is the United States, I can emphatically say that's not correct. So you ask yourself, family, do you think, and I'm going to ask this question real quick. I want to see what you guys think, and we'll wrap this up here. Let me see here. Let me put this here. All right. Oops. Let me do this real quick. I'm going to put this poll here. And you guys feel free to answer, vote. Let me see here. All right. Let me post this question here. All right. Let's see here. Let me switch this around. And I want to just take a poll here before we wrap up. And let me just do this real quick. Trust me, the people will mourn for more about if the Pope died than the president of the United States, the president of Russia, they would die. They would mourn for the Pope if something should happen to the Pope. But I'm just going to get your assessment here. Let's see here. Let's see. Let me see. Who would the world? right, let's see here. I thought I could put it in here. Let me see if I could do it here. Let's see here. I can't remove these other ones. So family, disregard the yes or no questions there. Or actually, you know what? I can do it this way. Yeah, actually I can. Let me do it this way. Yeah, here we go. I was able to change it. So I'm going to post this here. They got to get better with their description. So who would the world truly mourn? The fall of Vatican City, the fall of the United States. So I'm going to put this in here right now. All right. Let's see. In family, let's get maximum. Let's at least get 100 people. Right. Let's at least get 100 people participating in this since you guys are watching. All right. And let's get the likes and subscribes. We're at 97 and we've been hovering above 200, between 200 to 250 people live this late night. Even though we began about an hour ago, a little more than an hour ago, but hey, we hope we're strong here. We're deep here. All right. So let's get those votes up. And let's subscribe to the channel. All right. Let's see here. All right. So far, we have 37 votes. Let's try to get it up to 100. So far, 92% says that the world would truly mourn the fall of Vatican City. All right. So far, 92%. Come on, family. Let's get that. Let's get it up. We got 37 votes. We got over 200 people inside the chat. Let's at least get this up to 100. Let's get these votes up. All right. That's the question, family. Who would the world mourn the most? I want to say peace and blessings to Yah, son. Really appreciate you, my brother, for the love and support and just really holding down the chat. Really appreciate you, my brother. And Sister Carol and some of the others, Mr. The Original Old School, but I really appreciate you guys. But thank you, Yah, son, for holding down the chat. Now, pretty much every time I go live, you've really been holding it down. I really appreciate you, my brother. Let's see here. Cash App. I forgot to put this up here for anyone that wants to contribute to what we're doing here. All right. So let's go ahead and put this up. All right. Let's see where we are with the voting. We got 46 votes thus far. So far, 91% of you guys have said thus far that it would be Vatican City. You guys agree. So when we look at Revelation chapter 18, that city that you see the mourning, that people are mourning for, and also crying for vengeance, would be Vatican City. All right. We'll give it a couple of more minutes at the most to see if these votes go up. We have 48. Let's try to get those up a little. Let's get it up a little higher. All right. So those that are in the chat right now, the question is, who would the world truly mourn? The fall of Vatican City or the fall of the United States? All right. So far, we have the numbers are, it's high. Most of you guys agree it would be Vatican City. All right. So far, we got 50 votes. So far, out of the 50 votes, 86% voted that the world would truly mourn Vatican City. All right. Someone said a poll disappeared. All right, try to scroll up if you can into the chat to see if it's still there for some that may not be able to see it. All right, we see the votes getting up on that. So far, 87%. Vatican City. All right, 87%. That's right. Malaka said refresh. So refresh your browser and you should be able to see the poll. So far we had 54 votes. 87% of you guys agree that it would be Vatican City. So again, when we see the city, the great city that is fallen, that Babylon, and we see everything is affected by it. The world is mourning it, the fall of Babylon, this great city. Again, we cannot say that, in a nutshell, we cannot say that in one breath that it's the United States, but then say that that the world is excited. The world wants the U.S. currency to fail. Even though all the world, from China to Russia and all, they are invested heavily in the United States. Right? So you cannot say that the world wants the United States and excited about the United States currency to fail. But then at the same time, we see the scripture saying that there's going to be an overall mourning. There's going to be a mourning for it. So you can't have both. You can't say that it means both. No, it's not the United States. We're dealing with, again, the fall of Vatican City. That's the city. That's the territory truly that the world would mourn over Russia, over the United States, over China, over Great Britain. They will mourn the falling of the sacking of Vatican City. All right. All right. All right. So appreciate you, families. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and look up here. Let me close out this poll. 86% said that it would be Vatican City. All right. So let me end that poll. All right. So appreciate the participation. I am not going to be live tonight. Right. I mean, not tonight. But Sunday, I'm not going to do any more lives. Sunday up until probably next Wednesday, till like Thursday. Possibly Thursday is when I do my next live. So with that being said, family, in the words of the Most High that he gave to Noah as he encouraged the children of Israel, he said, fear ye not. And this is Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. Fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, you will never have to deal with them again. They will not have influence over you ever again. The Most High shall fight for you. But here's the kicker, family. You have to hold your peace. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Again, I'll say that again. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel.